Definitely one of the best scenes in the entire movie. So as you know, Inside Out 2 has finally been released, and as we expected, it's such an amazing movie. It's probably one of the best well-made movies of Pixar till this date. And it's not a coincidence because it has been the highest grossing film of all of 2024 with an opening weekend of $69 million. But today, guys, I will show you the secrets you didn't notice in the Inside Out 2 movie. So without further ado and much talk, let's get right into it, guys. At the beginning of the movie, the first thing we see is Riley with hockey clothing about to play hockey. And then after this scene, we get a scene with Riley in the kitchen with her parents, and she's basically making food for them and giving them the plate. This is honestly a complete reference to Ratatouille. Released on August the 3rd of 2007, it is one of the most popular animated movies ever made by Pixar, and it goes about the life of a rat called Remy who aspires to become a renowned French chef. However, he fails to realize that people despise rodents, and he will not have a good time with this thing in mind. As we see in the way she's holding the platter, this is a complete reference to Ratatouille. Next up, we have the scene when Riley is playing hockey with her friends in the stadium. If we take a close look at the stadium, we see that there are a lot of ads in there, just like in the real world, of companies promoting their brands in the sides of the stadium. But if we zoom into one of these ads, we see that it says Spinny. Well, this is actually a reference and tribute to Carol Spinney, the man behind the characters like Big Bird and Oscar-winning The Grouch. Well, the main reason why we see it in here is because the main director of Inside Out and Inside Out 2, Kelsey Mann, was such a huge fan of Big Bird when he was a kid, and he actually met Carol in real life, and he said this about him: "He was such a lovely man, and I feel so grateful that I had the chance to meet him, and I actually recognized him in the mall, and I felt like I had won the lottery. He was such a kind, gentle-hearted person." Because of this, he decided to give the tribute to the man in the movie, and there was actually a scene that was later deleted where the girls go to a pizza place called Spinny's Pizza. The next secret we see here is in the scene when all the emotions are asleep because they are sound and calm because of the fact that previously Riley has said to herself that she's a good person, which reinforced the belief system in a good way and kept it safe. But before all of this happened, a sound alarm went off called puberty, and nobody knows what's going on. Joy knows somewhat what's going on because she's the most experienced emotion, and she goes to the board, and all of a sudden workers turn up. They change everything in the headquarters, the board, the colors, absolutely everything. But one thing that you probably didn't notice while watching the movie is that if you listen closely, we can hear one of the workers talk, and the voice for one of these characters is John Ratzenberg. He's the legendary voice actor who has voiced one of our favorite characters in Pixar, and not only in Pixar but in other movies. He usually makes a lot of cameos in Pixar movies, but he hasn't done one in 4 years, and this is the first. He voices Fritz the Mind Worker, as we see in the scene, who calls one of the original emotions jerks. After misinterpreting what was going on because they basically caught the original emotions off guard, and because, of course, of the new sense of sarcasm that is welcomed in Riley's mind. Next up, right before the scene when the workers come in and they change everything in the board, and this scene is very powerful because it shows us the environment of every emotion when they sleep. We see that fear is holding on tight to the teddy bear because, of course, he's scared all the time. We see disgust sleeping disgusted. We see anger sleeping with fire all over the place. We see joy sleeping with joyful things, and sadness in a very sad manner. But the most important part of this scene is that if we look at the bottom left of this frame, we see the iconic Pixar truck. The Pizza Planet truck is the truck that is used to make deliveries for Pizza Planet in Toy Story. And ever since Toy Story was released, it has made cameos in every Pixar film to date except The Incredibles. The Pizza Planet truck played a major role in the first 3 Toy Story movies compared to its other appearances in other shows where it only made cameo appearances. In the Toy Story movies, it served as the means of transportation for the toys when they wanted to go anywhere they wanted. If we zoom in closely, we can also see a baseball bat. There was actually no reason for the baseball bat to be there, but it gives us the impression that Riley may try new sports in the future, although she doesn't do anything related to baseball in the Inside Out 2 movie. We can also see a blue teacup, which could also give us the impression that all the emotions take tea before they go to bed in order to relax the emotions of Riley more. As we know, if you've watched the movie, anxiety ends up hijacking Riley's mind, and she ends up bottling up the other emotions and she sends them away to a vault. And this scene has a lot of meaning because it's an actual representation of a real-life term in psychology called bottled up emotions, where it's basically the fact that you don't let your emotions out and you don't speak about them. So for example, if you feel anger or if you feel joy, you keep these feelings inside instead of actually showing them. This can cause distress, mental breakdowns, and outbursts in the person who was doing this. So basically, Inside Out 1 wanted to give a representation of these feelings in this movie in such a genius way. But the most important part of this scene is that in the vault where the bottled up emotions are kept, we can see Roman numerals which say ACX111. This translates to A113, which, if you don't know, it's a famous Easter egg that Pixar has always put in their movies. A113 is actually the room number used by character animation students in the California Institute of Arts when they were starting out the company. These students went on to become the founders of Pixar Animation Studios, and the tradition has continued going on ever since they released the Toy Story movie with these Easter egg inside. But although Pixar has always shown this Easter egg before, in the past, this Easter egg used to be hidden somewhere and written in actual form. But in recent Pixar movies, this has gotten more clever, like we see in Elemental where the Easter egg involves the periodic table. And here in Inside Out 2, we can see it in Roman numerals. For the next Easter egg in Inside Out 2, we have to go back to the beginning of the movie. At the beginning of the movie, we see a shot that shows us the whole hockey outfit of Riley, and she is very happy to start the game. But when the movie opens up and it shows us this scene, we can see that the hockey team that she is playing for is the Foghorns, the local team she joined upon moving to San Francisco. And if we zoom into the jersey, we can see the number 28, which is not just a normal or casual number, because Inside Out 2 is actually the 28th Pixar movie. Founded on February the 3rd of 1986, Pixar Animation Studios has given us the best animation movies ever. And because of this, they really wanted to show us this in a little Easter egg showing us the number of the movie that they're releasing now. In the first minutes of the movie, we see a very funny scene where Riley is trying to put on the iconic jersey that she had in the first movie, but it doesn't fit anymore. It's very little and it cannot adjust to the growing body of Riley. This is such an interesting scene because this is the same jersey that we see Riley wear in the first movie, and the colors that we see represent every emotion that Riley had in the first movie: fear, disgust, anger, joy, and sadness. But the reason the jacket doesn't fit though is also a reference to the fact that now Riley has new emotions coming in, so these new emotions don't fit in the new mind of Riley. It's essentially prepping us for the realization that Riley will have new emotions coming in very soon. So the emotions that are represented in this jacket are no longer going to be in charge, so that's why it doesn't fit anymore. Next up, if we go back to the scene when anxiety first appears in the movie, like I said before, Riley now is growing up and she has to get used to new emotions coming in. And one of these emotions is anxiety. But she is not alone, as she says in the scene. She says she has a lot of friends coming with her, and it's 3 more people. It's ennui, envy, and embarrassment. But in this scene, when the new emotions present themselves, the other emotions, like joy, don't know what they're doing there, and they don't know how to pronounce their names. Specifically ennui, which is a pretty hard name to pronounce. And she tries to pronounce it, but she doesn't say it correctly, and in an attempt to say it right, she says onward. Well, this is a reference to the Pixar movie released in 2020 called Onward. It goes about a magical world full of technological advances and about 2 elven brothers, Ian and Barley, who set out to resurrect their deceased father for one day so they can show them a lot of things about their lives. Onward is said to be one of the worst Pixar movies ever released, and to date, it is one of the lowest grossing films of Pixar Animation Studios, only garnering $142 million worldwide, which is absolutely catastrophical for Pixar Animation Studios. After anxiety comes in and makes a decision to actually make Riley join the popular group instead of her best friends, she decides that she needs to take control of Riley's mind, and she suppresses all the other emotions that were there from the beginning. She suppresses them, bottles them up, and sends them away to a vault. In this vault, we encounter a cartoon character called Bluffy from a preschool show that Riley watched when she was a baby. Bluffy is incredibly characteristic in this movie because he is in 2D as opposed to being in 3D like all the other characters. Him and another character that we see, Pouchy, who provides materials and solutions to problems, basically like Dora's the Explorer's backpack. Well, Bluffy and Pouchy are an obvious reference to all of these cartoon kids shows that we all used to watch as kids. They all have the same appearance and reminiscent of shows like Dora the Explorer or Mickey Mouse. Bluffy in particular has a very similar attitude and personality to Disney's Goofy, and if we look at the name Bluffy and Goofy, we can see the obvious reference there.